We have brand new August ADP, so it's time for another version of my Dynasty spin on Guy Fieri's diners, drive-ins, and dives to scour through the ugly parts of Dynasty ADP and find those hidden gems among the muck. So welcome in to another episode of Dynasty Fallers, Fill-ins, and Flyers. First up, we have our faller who from December 2022 till now has fallen nearly 100 spots in overall ADP to now just outside the top 200, and that's Darius Slayton of the New York Giants. And while I understand that there are a lot of new faces in town in New York, almost all of them are slot wide receivers, and the only real competition that Darius Slayton has for his outside role on this team is Isaiah Hodgins, which to me isn't really competition despite what every other Dynasty outlet says about Hodgins being a massively deep sleeper. I just don't see it. I mean, just look at their stats from when Hodgins joined the Giants last year, weeks 10 through 17. Slayton saw more targets, including 5 games with 6 or more targets compared to Hodgins' 3. He also accumulated way more yards, pacing for over 1,000 yards in this sample versus Hodgins pacing for only 750. The only difference between the two was that Hodgins scored 4 times to Darius Slayton's 1. But we know how regression works, so if a couple more touchdowns find their way to Slayton instead of Hodgins, then we know who the better option is for fantasy football. Not to mention that Slayton is currently going 5 rounds cheaper than Hodgins and is basically free right now in Dynasty. So now we really know which player is better to target right now. And listen, I'm one of the last people to believe in the growth of Daniel Jones as a passer and his viability to support a couple fantasy pass catchers, but why not target the guy who was pacing for over 1,000 yards and nearly a handful of touchdowns last year in this same offense? Because if he were to actually do that in 2023, that would make him a top 30 fantasy wide receiver, if not even top 25, with a couple more touchdowns. Next up is our fill-in, or fill-ins, I should say, because I am targeting both Dolphins running backs in Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson, who are both similarly valued going outside the top 180, but still inside the top 200 in startup ADP. The argument here is the same for both players. Each of them are competing with each other and third-round rookie Devon Achane for the lead role in Miami, and both were pretty productive in that role last year. Mostert finished as an RB3 or better in 12 out of 16 games last year, and an RB2 or better in 7 out of 16 games, including 4 top 24 weeks after Jeff Wilson joined the team. Wilson had great production at the start of last year, filling in for Elijah Mitchell before the Niners eventually traded for Christian McCaffrey, finishing inside the top 20 in 4 straight weeks in San Francisco. And then once he got moved to Miami, he posted 6 top 30 weeks in 8 games played with the Dolphins, again, mostly splitting time with Raheem Mostert. Now, when you add in Devon Achane into the mix here, this backfield really just becomes a mess of 3 very similar players in terms of size, speed, and just overall skill sets. And I'm sure that they're all going to cannibalize each other in just a gross 3-head committee so long as all 3 of them are healthy. But we know, just given the nature of the running back position and Mostert and Wilson specifically, that these guys are probably going to miss games. So in those weeks where 1 or even 2 of those 3 guys miss time, the others become way more valuable in those games and become very interesting flex candidates in a high-powered offense. And then lastly, we have our flyer, and I know he's reached a higher level than just flyer by now in the community, but I'm raising the bar even more on Sam Howell, who is currently going as quarterback 27 in our Superflex ADP. And I'm here to go on record and say that he is going to be a top 18 Dynasty quarterback this time next year, kind of like what happened to Daniel Jones last year into this year. To this day, I'm absolutely flabbergasted that Howell fell all the way to the 5th round as the 6th quarterback off the board last year. I went back and I actually looked at my college quarterback database that goes all the way back to 2000, and I found some wild stats for Sam Howell in college. Did you know that among quarterbacks that played at least 20 games but no more than 40 and had a minimum of 500 career pass attempts, that Sam Howell ranks 10th in yards per attempt behind Mac Jones, Tua, Kyler Murray, CJ Stroud, Bryce Petty, Sam Bradford, Joe Burrow, Jameis Winston, and Justin Fields. Notice how all of those quarterbacks, except for Bryce Petty, were first-round picks, and 4 of them are actually top 15 quarterbacks in Dynasty right now. And then with those same filters still applied, Howell also has the 12th highest touchdown percentage of that entire group, higher than Andrew Luck, Trevor Lawrence, Deshaun Watson, and Patrick Mahomes, and he's also in the 75th percentile in interception percentage in this group, throwing fewer interceptions per attempt, once again, than Andrew Luck, Patrick Mahomes, and Deshaun Watson in college. Oh, and of this entire group of 130 quarterbacks from these filters dating back to 2000, He is one of only 21 quarterbacks to have rushed for over 1,000 yards in his career. Again, out-rushing Trevor Lawrence and Patrick Mahomes over their entire college careers. And this guy fell to the 5th round of the NFL draft and is currently going as the QB 27 off the board in Superflex startups. You know what? Top 18 this time next year, that's too mild of a take. He's going to be a top 15 dynasty quarterback this time next year, and he throws for over 4,000 yards, scores over 30 total touchdowns, both passing and on the ground. Go buy Sam Howell for anything less than a first in Superflex leagues. Go stash him for a late second or even a third in one quarterback leagues. Just go get Sam Howell. But hey, if you want to know about 6 other players that I am buying in every single league possible, then you should check out this video right up here.